I grabbed a bouncy ball from Walmart, so I chose a yard of this glittery white fabric to kind of simulate snow. What we're going to do is just take the ball, place it right in the middle, and bring all that fabric to the center. So we're just going to pinch it and gather it. Now we're going to take a zip tie to secure it. This fabric will not be wasted. We'll use it as terry cloth. We'll use it in other projects. So don't feel bad seeing all of this fabric being cut off. Now we can just snip off the excess zip tie. And we're going to take a piece of wire to secure this. So this is going to be our wire that we hang it from a tree, from a shepherd's hook, from a lamppost. We're going to just take that wire and just tie it right around the top. And I'm also going to cut off an excess. That way we have enough room to tie it from whatever we decide. And it's not too short and we have to worry about that later on. So just make sure to cut a long enough piece. Now I have some of these beautiful snowy roses, and these already come pre-flocked. We carry them in rose form as well as peony form, and I think they're going to look really pretty for the entire length of winter. So we're going to just snip off each flower, and we are going to keep these leaves because these leaves are going to be the foundation underneath the flowers, adding a little bit of oomph to the ornament. To work them in, we're going to just dip the leaves into our glue skillet. And fabric is a great adhesive for all of your florals, your artificial leaves, your artificial flowers. It does a great job keeping them in place. So don't worry about these falling apart because these actually hold up really nicely. And I created this technique about 5 years ago now. And the original ball that I created is still going strong. So what you might see over time is that the ball deflates, but if you keep the nozzle to inflate it towards the surface, you can just poke a hole right through the fabric and inflate it as needed. But for $1, versus a $15, $16, $20 styrofoam ornament, it's very cost effective to use the lightweight bouncy ball. We can come back in with the rose flowers. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hot glue those right in place as well. And notice the thickness of my glue. I always like to keep it more of a honey consistency to prevent it from dripping and to save my hands because we don't want hot glue to drip on our hands. Now we're going to just come back in with even more roses. And I think, like I mentioned before, this is perfect for all winter long. And you can place this before Christmas as well. So you have a really long season for this using only a couple of dollars worth of ingredients. And here is how it looks hanging from my tree, you guys. I absolutely love it. And it looks so pretty swaying with the wind. I have one of these inexpensive plastic ornaments, and I wanted to do something for winter. So we're going to begin by making sure that the top is nice and secured. I'm going to use one of these wires that you can find from nickseasonaldecor.com. So what you're going to do is just secure the wire by feeding it through the hook and tie it secure. You're going to want to tie it a couple of times to ensure that it's not going anywhere. Then we're going to take some scissors and snip off the excess wire. And then we're going to cut this however long we would like. So depending on where you want to hang this, you can hang this outside on your trees. You can hang these on a shepherd's hook. So many different places. But I'm going to cut it about 2 feet long and hang this from my kitchen. Now I'm going to take my scissors and just cut a little piece of styrofoam. Just like that. We're going to do the same thing twice. And then we're going to glue these to the top of the ornament. Now we're going to dip a scrap floral stem into our glue skillet. We're going to add some hot glue, and it's a great alternative to your typical glue gun. So I'm going to place one piece of styrofoam there, and we're going to do the same thing with another little piece of styrofoam. So again, grab a little bit of hot glue, add some hot glue to the styrofoam, and then place it on the other side. Now we're going to break down some of this frosted greenery, and I think this is going to look really nice against the rose gold ornament. Now we're going to take our greenery and begin inserting it right into the styrofoam. With the pieces that are double, we're going to place them in, and then we can just bend them down. Don't forget about adding a little bit of height by working in some of your greenery pointing straight up. And these little singular pieces you can use to cover up your styrofoam. Now it's time to come back in with some decorative picks, and we're going to be using these iridescent white sprays. And these, with the iridescence, it almost looks rose gold, which matches the ornament perfectly. So after snipping these down, come back in with a little bit of hot glue, or if you're placing this inside, you can easily just take your stem and poke it right in. After snipping down the bush, we're going to just simply snip these down once more so that it's not overwhelming the ornament. Now we can come back to the ornament and start working these in. And you can add as many or as few as you would like, or you can use any other product that you have on hand as well. And here's how it turned out. So let's hang this from my kitchen ceiling and give you the full tour. All we're going to do is just tie this to either a push pin or a miniature command strip to hang it. These are extremely lightweight. And this is how it looks in my kitchen, you guys. I absolutely love it. And for a little bit of pizzazz, you can have it swirling as well. So really, really cute to do. There's so many different size ornaments out there, different textures, shapes, colors. Feel free to use whatever you like like best. Same goes with the ornament, the greenery, and the picks. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Nick Kretikos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Hometalk. So I went to my local Walmart and I found ornaments, and I really like the red and green. I think it's traditional Christmas, and I think it's going to be perfect for creating this hanging ball. So we're going to take the ornament, make sure all of the tops are secured, and if they're not, you can just come back in with a little bit of hot glue. What we have here is our glue skillet, and I'm just going to dip that ornament top into the skillet, and that's actually going to secure it even more so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just poke it right into the ornament. So as you can see, it creates a much larger ornament than using the smaller ones. And all we have to do is just alternate between each color. So the cool thing about this ornament ball is that you can do it in whatever color scheme you would like. There are so many different colored ornaments out there and so many different choices and selections. And you can also be using unusual shapes as well. So I'm just alternating so we have somewhat of a pattern. But if you're using the smaller ones, it doesn't really make a huge difference. And another thing that I did is I actually just poked some holes into it. So what I did is I just took the ornaments and poked them throughout. That way we have our guideline and we don't have to worry about doing it as we add each ornament. So now what we can do is we can come back in with our next layer. And again, like I said, don't worry about any of the gaps at this point in time because we are going to come back in with some extra little ornaments. We have one final ornament left to add, but it's not going to fit perfectly in between. So we are going to need to add an artificial stem. And you can also do this to every single one. We actually showed that in the last video we did last year for Hometalk. So we're going to just let that sit for a minute or two while it hardens up, and then we'll poke that right into the styrofoam. Here's the little ornaments that I showed you guys in the beginning, and those are actually the smaller ones that we used for the entire ball last time. And now we're going to use those to fill any of the little gaps that we have in between the ornament. So go throughout each and every little section and add the ornaments where it's necessary. And it really depends on each and every ornament that you make because sometimes it's going to require more and sometimes it's going to require a little bit less. And if there's glue strings, you can always pull them off after they've hardened. Now I just have a little length of wire, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that so that we create a U or a pin. You could also use a floral pin for this if you choose. Then just snip them slightly at an angle. We have some wire here today, and you can find this wire available at nicksseasonaldecor.com. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little knot. So we're going to tie it off. You want to tie it a couple of times to make sure. Pull it really tight, make sure it's not going anywhere. Take your scissors, snip off an excess. Cut yourself a nice long wire to be able to hang it from, a tree, a shepherd's hook, a lamppost. And the question I get always asked, and I'm going to cover that real quick, is when I tie this, I like to have a single string instead of a loop. So what I do is I just tie this to the branch. So imagine that's a tree branch, I just tie it right on. And if I choose to move it elsewhere, all I have to do is just snip off that wire and attach it somewhere else. So now that we have our little pin, we're going to really close that up. We don't need it super wide. Dip it in our glue skillet. And find a little opening. Make sure it goes into the styrofoam, and there you go. So then you have a nice long wire to hang it. You can also place this on a pole and create a topiary, but now let's see what this looks like hanging up from my tree. Here is how the hanging ball turned out. I absolutely love it. We kept it in a traditional color scheme, which just screams Christmas to me, so we used the golds, the reds, and the greens. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video inspired you. I'm Nick Kretikos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Hometalk. Bye, everyone.